The broadcast of the regular meeting of the Heritage Preservation Commission will now begin.
Good afternoon. Welcome to this live broadcast of our virtual meeting of the August 25th, 2020 regular meeting of the Minneapolis Heritage Preservation Commission. This meeting includes the remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021 due to the declared local health pandemic. For the record, my name is Madeline Sundberg, and I serve as chair of the Minneapolis Heritage Preservation Commission. I will now call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll so we may verify the presence of a quorum.
Bjornberg.
Present.
Fritz.
Present.
Howard.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Mack.
Present.
Sambolt.
Present.
Here.
Sundberg.
Present.
Vandereyck.
Here.
That's 9 commissioners.
Thank you. Let the record reflect we do have quorum. With that, we will proceed to our agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access to the city's legislative information management system, which is available at lims.minneapolismn.gov. Our first order of business is to adopt the agenda for this meeting. We'll be working from the agenda that is available online. I will go through the agenda and sort out which items will be continued, which items will be discussed, and which items will be put on the consent agenda. Our only item tonight, item number 4, 110 3rd Avenue North, Ward 3, a certificate of appropriateness, will be discussed. So again, the proposed agenda is to discuss item number 4, 110 3rd Avenue North. They'll have a staff presentation, public comment, commission discussion, and action. Commissioners, may I have a motion to approve the proposed agenda?
So moved. Howard.
Thank you, Commissioner Howard. Is there a second?
Johnson seconds.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion.
Bjornberg.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Aye.
Sambolt.
Aye.
Katie.
Aye.
Sundberg.
Aye.
Vandereyck.
Aye.
That's 9 yeas.
Thank you. The agenda is approved. Our next order of business will be to approve the minutes from our August 11th, 2020 meeting. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Bjornberg so moves.
Thank you, Commissioner Bjornberg. Is there a second?
Sandbolt, second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandbolt. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion.
Bjornberg.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Aye.
Sambolt.
Aye.
Aye.
Sundberg.
Aye.
Vandereyck.
Aye.
9 yeas.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. Before I open the hearing to public comments, let me summarize the process for conducting the public hearing in this virtual format. We will be acting on the single item, which is a discussion item. So I will open the public hearing. We will invite public comment. We'll be taking speakers in the order they are pre-registered, if any. The speakers will be limited to 2 minutes. After that, we ask that you, so after your name is called, we ask that you state your name and address for the record and then proceed to your comments. After we've completed the list of any pre-registered speakers, we'll see if there are any other speakers in the queue who may have called in. In order to activate your microphones, you'll need to press *6 on your phone. So again, we'll take the list of pre-registered speakers and then move on to any others who may be in the queue. So our first item number 4, is 110 3rd Avenue North, Ward 3, Certificate of Appropriateness. And the staff report will be presented by Sheila Vemmer.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman and Preservation Commissioners. My name is Sheila Vemmer. I'm a senior city planner with the CPED division of the City of Minneapolis. I'm here to present a new construction project for 110 3rd Avenue North. That's in Ward 3. It is both in the Warehouse and the St. Anthony Falls Historic District. Oh, am I muted?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. A thing popped up that said I was muted. Weird. Sorry. Next slide, please. This is a rendering of the building. It was originally approved as the Timber Lofts project, but has now been reconfigured and will be a 7-story residential building with 107 residential units, approximately 5,500 square feet of retail and 78 parking spaces. Next slide, please. This is, like I said, located in both the Warehouse and the St. Anthony Falls Historic Districts. The Warehouse District guidelines hold precedent over St. Anthony Falls. This is located on a vacant lot. Next slide, please. This was a warehouse up until 1977. It burned down, and the lot has remained vacant since. That's about 33 years, and has been used most recently as a service parking lot. So you can see the Mississippi River in the upper right corner to get your bearings. Next slide, please. These are views of the surrounding buildings. You can see there are other new infill projects in the area to the west. To the southwest remains extant historic buildings, and then across, I guess there's not a picture, but there is, well, you can kind of see it in the upper right photo, and in the northwest photo number 1, the 2 new buildings there. Next slide, please. These are renderings of the facades of the building. The main facade is in the upper left, that's 3rd Avenue. The secondary facade is view 2, and that will be partially obstructed by 3rd Avenue, my apologies. Is that 2nd Street? Still learning the area. But there's a rise that will, the lower level will be resident amenities. The photo on the lower left is the BNSF Railroad side. You can see there's a cutout or a cake slice type of variation in the facade on that side. That facade will have protruding balconies, whereas the other sides will have inset balconies. Next slide, please. Here is a context drawings of what the building will look like compared to the buildings surrounding them. The dashed line is what was approved in the past. The building has come down in size, about 3 floors. There will be a rooftop deck and some programming up there, and the elevator building, as you can see. And you can see in the lower left the slight rise towards the northeast section of the building. Next slide, please. These are some of the existing buildings that the form and the massing studies came from by the architects, just to show the consistent rhythm, the vertical lines with the horizontal window configuration. It also has a defined base, body, and cap. The cap is mostly defined by some detailed brickwork, not very fancy. It stays fairly subtle. Next slide, please. You can see the brickwork in the upper portion to kind of mimic a cornice. The applicant is proposing the main material as red brick. Floor 6 on up, I believe, will be a veneer, and from 5 down will be actual full-size bricks. There will be metal panels used on the lowest level, the ground level, at retail and entrance, with a precast wainscot base. And the inset ceilings of the balconies will be a metal paneling. Primary colors will be the brick red and black. Next slide, please. Again, this is the BNF side of the project. Staff recommends approval of the project. However, we would like to condition the project. The ground level and the building fenestration percentages didn't quite come up to what is in the guidelines. We are showing just under the guidelines for the fenestration. So we're requesting that the applicant increase the first floor facade glazed fenestration at First Street North to equal a minimum of 50% of the first floor facade, and increase the overall facade fenestration on each elevation where lacking to equal a minimum of 35% of the total facade area. We are also requesting that the rooftop structures, decks, and mechanical equipment shall be set back a minimum of 15 feet. And just a note, no signage is approved as part of this application. The applicant submitted an email to us that this was just for placement and a little bit of feedback, and that we will work on a another application for the signs. This concludes the staff report, and I'm available if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Thank you very much, commissioners.
Thank you for your report. Commissioners, are there any questions? I don't see any at this time. Oh, Commissioner Mack, do you have a question?
I guess I'm wondering what the impact of expanding the glazing would be. Obviously, we can ask the applicant to go into more detail on that, but as you looked at that, where was it kind of visually bothersome? I mean, I understand the percentages didn't match, so that's of course what you should be reviewing it for. But just kind of stepping back from that, what would you see as the impact of, and where would we see more glazing? How could that be accomplished? Is that a fair question of staff or not?
Well, I do think its personal opinion is to where it's lacking, but just to meet glazing guidelines, and I don't know the engineering side of this, and I do believe it would be a better question for the applicant, but there can be possibilities in height or width of glazing on the ground level, and then it could possibly be removing a muntin or something in the full facade. So we will work with the applicant. They said they've already started working on meeting those requirements. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sandvold?
Sheila, how much were they short from the required percentages?
Okay, I'm just looking through the staff report. I put in the percentages. I believe they weren't very far off on the ground level.
Thought it was 3%. Sorry to cut in, but I'm just looking. I'm on that sheet. It's on page top of page 8.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's a small percent that they're Like they're close.
They're very close, yes.
Okay. Okay. That's all I need to know.
No problem. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? I don't see any at this time. Thank you, Sheila. Okay, I will now open the public hearing for this item. I believe the applicant is here to speak. If so, if you could press *6 to activate your microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Evan Jacobsen with Tushy Montgomery Architects, here on behalf of Todd Simmons and the Timber JV Development Group. Really just wanted to thank you all for your preliminary feedback the first time we came to the Commission, and also happy to answer any questions that you have about the project. We're really excited about building this one and getting something to work on this site that has been vacant for so long. And to address just the first question regarding the glazing, yeah, there's basically the upper portion of the building requires about 35% glazing on the entire facade. Our percentage ranges from anywhere from, I think, 34 to 31% in that range. So it should be very easy to adjust the glazing slightly to hit that 35% overall. And then along the first floor, along 3rd Avenue, we were over the 50% required first floor glazing. And then along First, we faced a little bit of a hardship just as the bridge abutment kind of comes up as we cross that BNSF rail corridor. It kind of creates a unique condition where our finished floor of the lobby is actually kind of under the pedestrian level. So I think that was part of the reason that facade was falling 3 to 4% short. But as Sheila mentioned, we have already addressed that internally, and we intend to submit for our actual formal land use application here in the next week or so, and those corrections will be incorporated into that plan set. And with that, I'm happy to answer any other questions that the Commission has. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. Commissioner Howard.
Hi, thanks for bringing this back to us. I just had a question. Do you have any concerns about the condition about the setback being 15 feet on the rooftop structures and deck?
No, we really don't. I think right now, the way that it stands, we kind of have a framed structure instead of just having that elevator core that pops all the way up. We kind of treated it almost as a structural frame, and that created a little bit of a trellis canopy element over the extent of our rooftop deck. Right now, the edges of that, I believe off the top of my head, are 11 feet and 13 feet from the backside of the parapet. So I think that adjusting those to hit that 15-foot minimum should not have that much of an impact to that overall rooftop experience or design. And if anything, it will just make it even less visible from the ground level perspective, which you can't see it from the ground level perspective anyway, as it stands today. So no problems on our end meeting that setback requirement.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Any other questions for the applicant? I don't see any. Giving everybody a moment. Okay. Well, with that, I think I will check to see if there are other members of the public wishing to speak. Is Todd Simmons on the line? If so, press *6 to activate your microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Todd.
Hi.
2145 Windsong Lane, Chanhassen, Minnesota, 55317. And actually, Evan had covered everything for me, so I'm all good.
Great, thank you. Any other members of the public on the queue? Doesn't seem like it. So with that, I will close the public hearing and open this up to commissioner discussion. I'm really excited to see this project come back through. I know maybe we were all a little sad about the loss of the terracotta, but I'm glad you found a way to make things work. And I think this project does a good job of meeting our guidelines. Are there other commissioners who would like to speak?
Try this. Yes, it's a lovely job. It really seems to fit into the warehouse district, and I'm glad that the glazing guidelines aren't going to be too onerous to meet, because you've done a good job detailing it, and so congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Mack. Commissioner Johnson?
Be quick. I think we all were disappointed about timber not going through, but glad to see something else filling that vacant lot. Also happy that the applicant seems to be able to meet the glazing requirements and the setback. So I really appreciate that flexibility.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Sandbolt?
I just wanted to say that I appreciate and think that the cornice, the brick patterning there was really helpful for making that cornice, and I thought that was a great way to approach the requirement for the kind of cap. So everything looks great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandbolt. I agree, and I appreciate the architect's willingness to take in our feedback from the previous things. I think the cornice was something we had talked about last time, so it was nice to see the little brick detailing come into play. Any other commissioner discussion, or perhaps somebody would like to make a motion?
I would be happy to make a motion to accept staff recommendation and approve the project at, I don't have it in front of me, so it's at 110 3rd Avenue South and North, right. And with the conditions as recommended by staff.
Thank you, Commissioner Mack. Is there a second?
Sandbolt, second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandbolt. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I would ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion.
Bjornberg.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mack.
Aye.
Aye.
Stady.
Aye.
Vandereyk.
Aye.
Lundberg.
Aye.
That's 9 yeas.
Thank you. The motion passes. The applicant can speak to staff tomorrow about next steps for their application.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Sheila. Since that is our only item, I think we can move on to announcements. Do commissioners or staff have any announcements or commission business to discuss? Andrea Burke.
Hey, sorry, one moment, my screen, there we go. By now, thank you, have seen that I sent an email earlier that we will have that four open positions for HPC appointments. I encourage you to recruit. I had sent the link to where applicants can apply. And as far as I know, we have one commissioner that is applying for reappointment, the others who are not. So we will have 3 open seats to fill, which is, it's good, but we'll have some robust recruitment on our hands over the next month. So I encourage you to reach out to those you know and don't know. And then also just kind of keeping up on my word from our retreat and giving updates on kind of what happens with some applications after you hear and decide them. From our last meeting on August 11th, we received 1 appeal for the property at 2022 2nd Avenue South, and that will go to the Business Inspections Housing and Zoning Committee on September 8th. So that is all I have for new business at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Commissioner Van Der Eyck.
I'll apologize in advance. There's some construction going on in my neighborhood, and I can't close my doors or windows because I don't have air conditioning. So sorry about that. But I just wanted to circle back on our conversation from the retreat for a task force in some of these different areas of interest that we commissioners would like to delve into and get a sense on what a critical path for forming those was. I guess I wasn't clear ending our task force as to what next steps were going to be taken regarding that. So just didn't want to lose sight of it and bring it up and see what you guys think on next steps.
Thank you, Commissioner Van Der Eyck. Andrea, were we able to determine what the process for creating a task force is, or do I just like announce it into being?
You know what? I was not able to determine since we had our retreat, but I think what we had kind of ended with at the retreat is that we would, somebody would likely, you as the chair would bring it up as new business, the desire to create one, how many people, who might be on it, kind of based on that guidance provided in the bylaws, and what small kind of task force / committees can be put together. And I think that's generally where we left it. But I think from our discussion at the retreat, we are able to do it. And as long as it's kept under, and I think it was like 5 or 3, we can carry forward, and it's sort of up to you commissioners to organize and discuss and meet without staff.
Okay. It seems like there is interest in perhaps a task force around creating a deconstruction ordinance of some sort, or research into precedents for that. It also seems like there is interest in more of an equity outreach end of things. I'm not sure exactly what that task force would be called. I guess I'm wondering if perhaps I have individuals who want to head a task force and what that task force would be exactly. I know this is something you're particularly passionate about. Claire, did you have an idea for what it would be?
Yeah, so I would be happy to volunteer myself to take the lead in a task force, and we just call it like a DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force for the HPC. My intent with that, and I can kind of, if it makes most sense before any commissioners have to sign on to being a part of it, I can put together a summary of what I would consider the goals of such a effort. But generally speaking, what I would say is that we would work on some recommendations of tools and ideas with which that the HPC can put forward that relate to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So if it makes most sense to you, Chair, then I will put that together and submit that for review in our next meeting, if that sounds right.
I think that would be great, so that everybody has the same understanding of what exactly it is we're discussing, because diversity, equity, and outreach, inclusion, they can mean lots of different things. Commissioner Howard, I know we have kind of discussed a deconstruction ordinance. I'm wondering if that's something you would be willing to head up, or if that would be putting extra workload on you that you can't accommodate at this time, just to throw you in the spotlight. Sorry.
Yeah, I am very interested in seeing a deconstruction ordinance. I am not going to be able to head a task force right at this moment. I might have some more time in a few months, but right now I can't take on the leadership role of that. I'm more than happy to be part of any task force and part of conversations, though.
I completely understand because I've been having the same debate of like, oh, I really want to do it, but I don't know if I can take it on either. I'm wondering, are there any other commissioners who are particularly passionate about deconstruction ordinances? Otherwise, maybe I'll start the heading of it and we can figure it out later if there's nobody else super interested in it. Not seeing anybody else. Well, maybe I will form this diversity, equity, and inclusion task force, and I will form a deconstruction ordinance task force, and we will see where we go with those and follow up at the next meeting. I'll try to write something up about the deconstruction ordinance process.
Perhaps I could serve as a sounding board for whatever you write up.
Yeah.
And then we can talk some more then. I will be out of town this next week, however, okay. But I can review anything that you start putting together.
That sounds good. And Claire,
I'd be willing to help with that too. Just kind of reviewing and
okay.
I also can't head up right now, but I can definitely kind of contribute.
I can send something out. Commissioner Van der Eyck, once you write something up, if you want to send it to me, or if there are any other commissioners who want to be sounding boards for that, we can communicate off meeting for that. Great. Okay. Any other new business announcements? I don't see any. Well, this was a fast and speedy meeting. So with that, we have completed all items on the agenda for the meeting. There being no other business, I will, without objection, declare this meeting adjourned. The next regular meeting of the HPC is September 15th, 2020. Thank you, everybody.